Welcome to our Cub Scout Spring 2023 recruiting webinar. So thank you very much for all that you do for Cub Scouting, and we're really appreciative that you can join us tonight. So here's an overview of the agenda that we're going to cover tonight. We'll have a short intro, talk a little bit about why we're focusing on spring recruiting. I know that some packs did do spring recruiting, others did not, but we'll cover that. We'll talk a little bit about the importance of your pack's Be a Scout pin, as well as the importance of trying to use the BSA online applications. Then we'll talk a little bit about your spring recruitment night or event, some resources that we have both at the BSA level as well as at the council level. Shannon will talk a little bit about the action plan for your spring event. We'll share some success stories from 2 packs that did really well and give others an opportunity to share what's worked for them as well. And then finally, we'll finish it with some question and answers. So I'll turn it over to Shannon. She can start with this one.
Okay, so my name is Shannon Kava, and I am the Stanford District Commissioner. We have Eric Spitzer, who is our district membership volunteer. He's been invaluable. Rand Mahoney, as you just introduced, he's our district director. And then Nan Bowden is our council membership chair. So I have been involved in scouting for a really long time, like many, many years, probably about 15 years or so. My oldest son, who's almost 27, I started him I think he started he didn't start as a Tiger, so he must have started in 2nd grade. And so, but I have held every position in Cub Scouts, including Cub Master. And then we moved on to Boy Scouts and have done a lot there with them. And so I have a lot of knowledge. I've run summer day camps for Cub Scouts and had a blast and just really have a lot of fun with the Scouts and the kids. So Eric, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, Eric Spitzer. So I've been involved with scouting since my son was a Tiger, recently got his Eagle rank, so a few years. From a membership perspective, I was the membership chair for my son's pack for a few years, and so that's kind of the perspective I have on membership and recruiting.
Great, thank you, Eric. And then a little bit about myself. Rand Mahoney is my name. I'm the district director. I started with the Stanford district in the middle of August. I came from the Golden Gate Area Council in the East Bay. I'm a retired analytical chemist, and I started working professionally for the Boy Scouts about 8 years ago as a district executive. I was a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout and an Explorer Scout as a youth in the Seattle area. I signed up my son to be a Tiger Scout and worked with him and his pack, was a den leader, a Cub Master, went on to Boy Scouts, and I was an assistant Scoutmaster there. And then I was involved with district committee and council level things such as high adventure training, wood badge staff, and so on. And I'm the dad of an Eagle Scout. So I really enjoy what scouting has to offer to all our youth. So that's a little bit about myself. Shannon, you want to tell us a little bit about what unit commissioners are and how they can help?
I do. I also forgot to mention that my 2 boys are Eagle Scouts also. So I've been through everything. Unit commissioners they're like your friendly uncle or aunt who they want to help you out. They want to kind of be the liaison between your unit and the council, to answer questions, to guide you, to come to your events if you need them to, talk to parents. We're your helpers. We want to be there for you. Use us as resources. If you don't have a unit commissioner, you can contact me if you really feel you need one, you want extra help. I am also available to help anyone, so please reach out to me. But but not all units have commissioners. Not all units need commissioners. Some of them are doing fine without, but some of them do need them. So if you feel your unit does need one, please reach out to me and we will find someone for you. Ah, yes, Kismet, keep it simple, make it fun. Okay, before we start, I want to pull up some trivia questions, okay? So I have two, if anyone can answer these. The first one, when did Cub Scouts start? And the second question is, Cub Scouts wasn't called Cub Scouts originally. What was it called? So when did Cub Scouts start and what was it originally called? Any answers? Nope. Nobody knows? Okay, so Cub Scouts started in 1930 and they were actually called Wolf Scouts. So a little bit of trivia for you. So keep it simple, make it fun. Use your resources. Have fun with this, okay? The less is more, right? So don't make things difficult. Don't make things complicated. Borrow ideas from fellow scouters, other packs. If it's out there, it works well. So just use it for your unit. It doesn't matter if you're quote a copycat. Copying is the greatest form of flattery. So, use those resources. Ask for help. Your parents are willing to help. They want to reach out. They want their kids to have fun too. So get them to help. Any other scouters, if they don't have kids in scouting, sometimes they just want to come out and have fun. Look at me. My boys are both grown up and out, and I'm still involved in scouting and all sorts of fun stuff. So, and then make it fun. Scouting is fun with a purpose, according to Baden Powell, who was the founder of scouting. Fun helps scouts and parents get more engaged. I've learned so much ever since I've been in scouting. I've met so many people, had so much fun doing all the different things. It gets exciting. You have great memories, great fun times, and just the adventures that you have, you're creating so many memories with everybody you're with. You're going to be in old age one day and have fun looking back at this stuff. So yes, keep it simple, make it fun, but use your resources because they're all out there. And we'll talk about your resources in the coming up slides.
One of the things that we did when I was Cub Master is that we would actually have a joke jar. So they were Cub Scout appropriate jokes. And it was filled with a lot of different, kind of silly jokes. A lot of times they were pulled from the Boys Life or now the Scout Life magazine and so on. And so we put it in there. And then a couple times during the pack meeting, we would go ahead and pull out the joke jar and have a scout come up and pull out a joke, and then they could choose any adult in the audience to read the joke. And invariably, they'd go to their parents, so it was a great way of getting the scouts involved, but also the parents. And everybody learned that they could have fun and have a great time.
So I think this one's mine.
Yes.
So I think we want to start talking about why spring recruiting. So if we look at the graph, I think it tells a pretty clear picture of what happened with the pandemic over the last few years. We lost almost half of our Cub Scouts through at least 2021. So things, definitely difficult. But I think the good news is it indicates there things are starting to turn around. We saw about an 8% gain. As you can see, the graph is starting to go back up. But there's definitely a long way to go. And one of the ways to start that process is definitely spring recruiting. Growing the packs helps create momentum, excitement. It gets families involved at kind of a low stress point in time where things are winding down, but they can join and get involved with the celebrations that are happening often at the end of the school year, at the end of this point in time. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how it can be kind of a low stress, easy way to kind of ease into recruiting and increasing the numbers. So I know that Rand is going to talk a lot about available resources. This slide talks about some webinars that are available that's focus specifically on spring recruiting. I took a look at a bunch of these, and so I'm going to give you kind of a summary of some key takeaways. I hope that you will watch some of these. They're easy to watch and listen to. But just to give you perspective, when I was membership chair, we didn't do spring recruiting. I'll admit that. But after looking at some of these things, I did learn a lot. And if I would have gone back, I would have seen how easy it would have been to actually do some of it. Based on the approach. So if you look at it as continuous recruitment, which is some of the takeaways from these webinars, there's Cub Chat Live. There's a link there. It's on Facebook. Scouting Wire is marketing webinars. There's a ton of them out there. The links are on the slide here. But in listening to these, you can see that, the focus is making it fun, simple, easy. You don't need to be focused on advancement. You don't have to worry about people joining late in the process. They're not joining really for the program. They're joining for the fun. They're joining because their friends are in Cub Scouts. They're joining for the community. The easier way, the informal way of doing this, if you want to just get it started, is inviting them to events that are already happening. And who would you be inviting? Potentially upcoming Tigers, friends. Have the existing scouts and families just invite people they know to something that's fun. Could be an upcoming pack meeting. It could be a barbecue. It could be an outing, a hike, anything that's already planned that you could leverage, or something fairly easy that can be planned. Families are looking for what to do over the summer. There's a lot of talk about, getting them involved and then maybe going to day camp. I looked online, and the Takima camp has signups open, day camp. They're registering now, so there's definitely capacity available for families and kids that want to get involved now and go directly into camp as part of scouting. But I think the key is making it easy and informal. So, as it indicates, focus on family, siblings. If you want to go in and take a more formal approach, one of the recommendations is maybe focus on upcoming Tigers. So maybe send flyers home with kindergartners, maybe go in and talk to kindergarten classes if the schools will allow you to do that. But again, kind of can be low effort, doesn't need to be formal recruiting like a fall recruiting process. So it's a good way to get started. And then, of course, once you do it, the follow-up is real important. So once the families get involved, they get to have some of the fun of some of these events. The key is then to follow up with them, particularly if, you might have only a couple of events scheduled over the summer, or if you're going to schedule events particularly to keep that momentum going. Could be one thing a month. Again, a barbecue, a hike, but make sure that they have the info. Calendars are key. So they understand, what is this going to be? What's my commitment? How often do you meet? Some of the just basic information to kind of get them engaged and get them interested. And of course, the number one reason that people join is because they were asked to join, mostly by their friends and family.
Yeah, that's a key point. And I've heard that over and over again when I've listened to some of these webinars and so on. So I guess it's time for another trivia question. Does anybody have a question they want to throw out? If not, I can offer one. At what point can a youth join Lion Scouts?
When they're in kindergarten.
Okay. And specifically, when would that be?
5 years old.
5 years old, or when they become a kindergartner starting August 1st. So they may be PK and they finish up the year in June. They really can't start until August 1st. So that's a BSA requirement.
Okay.
And then a little bit about the Lion Scout program that I think is worthwhile for everybody to understand. And again, it goes back to what Shannon had talked about too, is, keep it simple. The Lion Scout program, think of it as Cub Scouts light. And so the idea behind it is, keep it simple, make it fun, do something once a month with the lion den. You have a lion den leader or a lion guide, and their goal is to really work with each of the parents, which are required to be there. And the idea is that the lion den leader will go ahead and lead the first one or maybe couple of den meetings. And after that, that den leader will work with each parent to actually lead one of the den meetings. So generally it's once a month. The Lions may not necessarily attend every pack meeting. Again, a fifth grader, or I'm sorry, a 5-year-old has an attention span about like that, about 10 minutes. And so we want to keep it really short and sweet and make it fun. And so the idea is that maybe they come to the pack meeting for just the first half of the pack meeting or something like that. You want them to have fun and be attentive, but then you want them craving more so that they can't wait to become a tiger. And that's really the gist of the Lion program. So don't try to overthink lions, just make it really fun and keep it simple.
So
Okay.
Rand, there's a question in the chats that
Yep.
are there any tips on finding our den leaders for next year?
Yes. I guess one of the suggestions I would have is, if you know of somebody coming in as a family with a lion, they may be willing to do it. Sometimes you get siblings. So you have a family that maybe has a bear, and now they have a new lion coming in. Somebody like that would be good because they've been in the Cub Scout pack for a couple of years, and so they have a better idea. Or maybe you can even get simply a parent of a older scout to kind of help out. And again, the idea behind the lion den leader is you just get them going, and then after the first few den meetings, you can just kind of sit back a little bit and supervise and guide each parent as they lead the monthly den meeting. One of the important things with scouting is to make certain that if a family is interested in Cub Scouts and they go to their computer, put in their internet browser, scouting or Cub Scouting near me, the number one hit generally is something that's called bascout.org. This is part of the BSA system, and it comes up and it looks like this. You put in your zip code, you indicate the grade level here, K through 5, and then it should pull up basically all the Cub Scout packs around them. And you have both this presentation here, and then there's also one that just has a listing as well. But they have the option then to click on the different icons here for each pack. One of the important things here is to make certain that your pack, and I would encourage you to try this out, go in and put in your zip code and see how your pack comes up. And again, the ordering of this has to do with the geo center based on that zip code. So just because you're coming up, say, the number 4 pack in, say, zip code 94022 doesn't mean that you're 4th rated. You're simply a little further away from the geo center of that zip code, but that's okay. The important thing is that you have all the information here for your pack. Make certain that you have a contact name and an email at the very least. You don't have to put in a phone number, but do make certain that you have that in there. Have a little bit of description about your pack as well. All of our packs but one right now are actually family packs, which mean we can have girls and boys in that. I would make it very clear that your pack accepts boys and girls. Indicate when you meet and a little bit about what you do. And if you look at this, you can kind of look at what different packs have. And as Shannon was saying, there's no shame in scouting. We can beg, borrow, steal what other people have and go ahead and use that for our own pack as well. So feel free to use some of the verbiage or some of the ideas that other packs are using as well. If you need any help on this, there are places that you can go and it'll show you how to update it. Also, I'm glad to work with you as well as Shannon, Eric, and your unit commissioners if you need to have help in updating this as well. Another thing that's really important too, along with your Be a Scout PIN and having it up to date, is to make certain that you allow online applications. And the reason for this is basically the efficiency of allowing a family to join scouting. And so please make certain that that's turned on as well. And in the process, let's say if somebody comes for a spring recruiting event, you might have a raffle saying anybody that joins Cub Scouting tonight will put in a raffle for a special prize or something like that. And I would encourage you to have basically a QR code along with the URL posted in a couple different places so people can go ahead and sign up. And if you need help on how to get the QR code and so on, it's in my.scouting. And then if you go to the invitation manager, and you have to be a key 3 leader. So what's a key 3 leader? That's a Cub Scout or Cub Master, pack committee chair, or the charter org rep, or it can be a key 3 delegate. Those people are the ones that would have access in that, and they can go to invitation manager and get the QR code for your pack along with the URL. So the nice thing about that is when they use their cell phone on the QR code, or they use the URL, it'll take them to Be a Scout, but it'll take them specifically to your pack. And so when they go ahead and sign up online, they're signing up with your pack and not another pack. And as you can see here in the upper left, you have the option of either signing up a youth or the adult. You don't have to sign up an adult to basically sign up a youth. So sometimes that question comes up. Although we'd love to have adults sign up as a volunteer and be part of the pack as well. Anything else that you want to add, Shannon or Eric, on this, or anybody else? Okay. If you can get families to sign up within the first week or two of having your spring recruiting event, one of the things that's really important is what BSA calls onboarding. And that has to do with welcoming the family and reaching out to them, and consider having a new Scout family orientation meeting. Doesn't have to be that long, but a couple of things that you can share with them, and you can see the different information that we have here. There's a family information guide that BSA has that is a real good overview as to what the Cub Scout program is all about. There's a new Cub Scout parent orientation guide that talks a little bit about the different ranks and so on. And then finally, there on the right side here, we have a Cub Scout parent talent survey. And you can click on this link, that'll take you there, or you can go to basically this Pac Sky New Family web page here, and that'll also show you that survey. But it's a great way to reach out to your parents and say, hey, what are your interests? What's your business or career background and so on? Would you be able to help us out? And then finally, there's also a 100-point adult participation form that can be used in terms of trying to get people to get involved. One of my old districts that I used to work with had a pack that had 130 Cub Scouts in it. And, I talked to the leaders a little bit about, how do you go about doing that? And they said, well, we just make it fun, have a lot of fun, but we also set the expectation with the new Cub Scout families. You're very welcome in our pack, but please understand that, we're a volunteer organization and everybody needs to help out in one way or another. So whether or not it's something as simple as, passing out maybe flyers, at the beginning of the pack meeting, or helping to clean up, or getting involved in, a pack camp out, or helping out with the Pinewood Derby. Everybody needs to help out in one way or another. And so they just set that expectation from the very beginning that everybody will be involved. Another thing that they'll do is they'll say to the families, we need at least 2 parents from every grade level. We need 2 parents from every grade level to volunteer for about 2 hours a month. And we're going to have you become part of the PAC committee, and you'll kind of oversee the PAC, kind of run things in the background. And so they might be like a webmaster or the PAC treasurer, but that's one way to, get parents involved. They might be a den leader. And then the other thing that is very helpful too is to explain to the parents that we need really to have a den leader and a assistant den leader. And so they would go ahead and ask somebody to be the assistant as well. And that way you also have kind of your succession planning there as well. So that if, for example, with the PAC committee, every year you're not losing more than a couple. My dog is complaining. Sorry about that. So anyway, by having 2 parents from every grade level, you're never losing more than a couple parents every year from your Cub PAC committee. So that really can help a lot.
Just a quick comment. So what I'm thinking is, if you're starting this in the spring and you're having these conversations now, in a much less stressful environment, they have a number of months, you have time to get to know them, the families, the potential leaders. They get involved with scouting. It's a different conversation if it happens over 4 or 5 months versus they show up in August and you're asking them to lead a den, in September. It definitely gives everyone a lot more time to kind of ease into that process and figure out who the leaders might be.
Yeah, that's a great point. And in terms of training too, there's something that just came out in the weekly Pac Sky e-news, the news that you can use. And it has to be what's called BLAST, which is basic leadership. I've forgotten what it is, something scout training. And so on Saturday, May 20th, there is scout training or Cub Scout training for both den leaders as well as PAC committee people and also others. So that can be helpful to have that. And then the other thing too is it also gives them a little bit more time if they want to do online training to get that done during the summertime as opposed to trying to cram that in before they start up as well.
And it also gives them time to look at the resources and maybe plan out a couple of events that are going to happen in the new year.
Yeah, become familiar with Scout Book and things like that. And then as Eric was talking about too, trying to keep the families a little bit more engaged, there's a awards program that I really like that BSA has. It's called Summertime Awards. And it's something that can be earned by the individual Cub Scouts, along with also the dens, along with also the pack. And if you do one scout activity in June, one in July, and one in August, then you can earn that award. So the June one could basically be end of the year pack meeting, picnic, something like that you're already going to be doing. August could be your, first pack meeting of the year. And then you just have July that could be, as Eric mentioned, a day hike, or maybe you get together for some s'mores in the evening and some stargazing or something like that, or maybe even a fun nighttime hike, that's always a little bit fun during a full moon, 1 mile hike or a half a mile hike or something like that. The kids get a kick out of doing kind of unique and different things. Okay. Anything else on onboarding training? Okay. One of the questions that comes up sometimes is about Cub Scout fees and so on. And so I figured that I would cover this, what I call Finance 101. And I wanted to give a little bit of background. So if we have Cub Scout families sign up online, the BSA system will automatically charge them their membership fees, and that would be their national fee along with also the council fee. It will not charge a PAC fee because there's no way that we could set up a system and move all that money into about 10,000 different Cub Scout PAC accounts and things like that. And so in the process, that's what's covered, and it's basically prorated for the balance of the current year, or more accurately through January of next year, which is what our council's finance year is. So if we have them apply online, then you have the option, if you want, to collect the PAC fees, which is the PAC portion of the annual fees, at the first meeting. So that's possible. Or the other thing you might consider is to just let it go, but advise all families that join that come the fall, you'll be collecting a new set of fees for the year 2024. Just like you're charging every returning Scout family for 2024, you'll be collecting those fees usually in the fall of 2023. And on the graphic here, you can kind of see how the fees are broken down here. But basically, it's $12.50 per month to be a Cub Scout in our council. And then here's the graphic here. If you have a question about it, there's also a link down below here that you can go and take a look at, the fees and so on. And feel free to reach out to me if you ever have a question on that. Are there any questions on Cub Scout fees or how it's done? Okay. Are we ready for another trivia question? Does anybody have one, or should I throw out? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. What kids' book did Cub Scouts get their name from? And it was also a Disney movie. Nobody?
The
Well,
Kipling book, Jungle Book.
That's right. Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book. That's right. They had Dens, Pax, Aquila. Yep.
Yep. All right. Very good. We're trying to keep it fun here.
Great.
One of the things that BSA has found is that trying to get the word out is really important to prospective Scout families. And they have found that social media is a good way to do it. Things like Facebook, in all the surveys that they've done, is probably one of the more popular ways of trying to get the word out to parents, that is adults, probably age 25 to 40 or so, 45. There's also Instagram and Twitter and different things like that. And so here's an example of a Cub Scout pack that has an event coming up. And so what they've done is they've done something that Facebook offers. It's called geofencing, and you can go ahead and publicize your event for a small fee. And generally, I think it's like $5 to $15, something like that. And the idea that if you're meeting at, say, a school, every time a parent of that age of a prospective Cub Scout would get within about 2 to 3 miles of your school or that meeting location, this would pop up on their Facebook account as a ad saying, come be part of our Cub Scout pack. This is what we're doing this Saturday, and it would, get the word out to these people. So consider doing Facebook events with geofencing if you need help on that. I'm not an expert on it, but I've worked with packs in the past to do it, and so I can help you with that as well. So one of the things that Eric talked about was what was one of the major reasons that families join Scouting, and it was basically a recommendation or somebody asking them if they wanted to join Scouting. So as we say here, it's all about the relationships. And so one of the things that we would challenge each one of your Cub Scout packs is reach out to every parent and every Cub Scout that you have in your pack and issue them a challenge. and see if they'll ask at least one friend. The parents would ask a fellow adult if they would be interested in joining scouting, and the scouts can reach out to their friends and ask if they would be willing to join scouting. If you could do that, I'm sure you would have some pretty positive response there. It looks like Murray has a question here.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I think the social media tools for geofenced ads and things are a great idea. I think the challenge is that as a PAC, we're a relatively small, small budget and small amount of time to think about this. Does the council run anything, geofence to the counties of the Bay Area that could direct people towards our to the PACs in this area? Like, I wonder at what level is there BSA advertising? Have people done it at the council level? Have they done it at the national level, or do they only do it at the individual PAC level?
So I'm relatively new here at the Pacific Skyline Council, but I'm not aware of any specific geofencing thing as well as social media. I think we could do a lot more in terms of social media. What I do know, having talked to people at the national office about geofencing, is that geofencing generally is not very effective until you really have it focused on, one or a couple specific events and a couple geocenters. So if you try to reach out to, say, all the parents in Santa Clara County and San Mateo County, it becomes a little bit too much.
I think it's just as a counterpoint to that, there's some inherent inaccuracy in the geofencing, and so I think if we tried to just do the Loyola neighborhood for our PAC, for example, that would also have its own difficulty. So anyway, not important, but I just wonder. It just feels hard for me to get involved at that level at an individual PAC. It feels like too small of an entity to do a big social media campaign of advertising.
So one of the things we might be able to do is work together collectively as, maybe a couple, a group of PACs that are in kind of one area, say Los Altos, for example. Let's, get the Los Altos PACs together, and maybe they can all share kind of, their PAC recruiting event, and then collectively we can kind of put it in there and see if that'll work.
Yeah, maybe that would be good.
Yeah, and we can also pool the resources too to be able to cover the costs and so on. Okay. Any other questions on spreading the word or comments, suggestions? Yesterday went to my.scouting and logged in, as I do almost every day, and was surprised to see something new. They had kind of redone the my.scouting website, and they had also added to that basically information on BSA recruitment resources, which was great. And so I wanted to be certain to include that in here. So do take a chance or do take the opportunity to go to my.scouting, and under kind of the news and I guess information that they post on there, they'll have the recruitment resources here. And so you can take a look at it. And basically there's information on Adventure On material. So the theme last year for Cub Scout recruiting was Adventure On, and they're using the same theme this year, Adventure On as well. And then there's information about the social media calendar. So you can take a look at that. They have different campaign events. Take a look at some of the ideas there, along with also marketing bootcamp webinars, some more great webinars similar to what Eric was talking about, as well as trending topics and so on. So do take a look at that. And then down below is actually the URL. So if you go to my.scouting, click on it, you can get there. Or if you just click on scouting.org/recruitment, you'll get there as well. Some more BSA resources that we have basically are at the BSA Brand Center. So you can do an internet search and just put in BSA Brand Center. That should take you to that. There is basically a couple of questions that you have to agree to. I think there's 5 different things. 2 are mandatory. So you got to click yes on that, and then from there you'll go to basically the brand center, and then from there you can click on the Cub Scout program, and it'll take you to a lot of different things, including recruitment resources, so on. And as you can see here, there's a lot of different things that you can get there. You can get web banners, you can get things for social media postings and so on. You can get flyers and posters, you can get postcards, various graphics if you want to include it. And there's something that's called peer-to-peer cards. I actually like to think of these as friend cards. And so the idea behind this is that you can go ahead and download these, and you can have, there's basically 10 per page. You can get a set to each Cub Scout, 1 page, 10 cards. And on that, it's what they can pass out to their friends. So it says that basically they're invited to your recruiting event or a fun event that your pack is having, and it gives the specifics of the date, time, and so on. So a lot of different tools that you can have here to reach out to prospective Scout families. Any questions? Our council also has additional resources here, and so if you look at the lower right here, this is the URL. It's pacsky.org/new-families, and in that, again, it's information on spring recruiting, along with also a Cub Scout pack recruitment guide, plans, and so on. So all of that is there as well. Okay, and next I think Shannon's going to talk a little bit about kind of the action plan and some key dates that we'd like to help, work with the packs to get done this spring.
Yeah, we're getting closer on time, so we don't want to spend too much time. Okay. But some of the key dates, start now. Start now thinking about, update your PIN, schedule a spring recruitment night, get some of the promotional materials from the council. I mean, they're free. They're there. Use them. 2 weeks before your event, have your recruitment night promotion. When your recruitment night promotion begins, do your invite a friend card, yard signs, flyers, etc. And then by May 31st, it would be a good idea to host your pack recruitment night or event, so that it's before the end of school, because there's so many things that are happening at the end of school. If you can get it done before that happens, that would be fantastic. Okay, then offer a recruitment night. Have your online apps, and online apps are preferred. And they can't do that, turn in your paper application as soon as possible. And then again, on May 31st, you can turn in any of your updated pack roster to your district exec or your district commissioner, me. So use these dates, they help you out. It just gives you a good guideline, good way, good stepping stones to get there. So don't try to create something new. Use the stuff that's already there.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So next we'd like to talk about some of the success stories. We have Daniel Templeton, who's the Cub Master for Pack 6. I believe he's with us all the way from Alabama, who is currently on a trip, but he's offered to talk to us for a minute or two about what successes Pack 6 has had. And so one of the interesting things about Pack 6 is that they were down to 5 Cub Scouts, and there was a little bit of discussion as to whether or not the pack was really going to, pull through and grow and so on. And so they really got full of energy and worked hard and were able to add 23 new Scouts last year. So Daniel, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what the pack did?
Sure. Yeah, so we were hit hard with COVID just like everybody else. And while our official roster may have said 5, we literally started 2 years ago with 1 Scout. So post-COVID, we had 1 continuing Scout. And we kind of hobbled through last year just doing CPR to make sure it stayed alive. This year, I think our success was in no small part due to our parents. The parents in the pack did an amazing job of selling scouting to their friends and their kids' classmates. So in particular, one of our biggest wins was that we had last year, towards the end of the year, we had a family join kind of on a lark. It was inconvenient because they couldn't really stay most of the time, and it was like we made it work, but it was really awkward. Well, it turned out that family ended up being the president of the mother is now the president of the PTA at Ohlone. And so she has done an amazing job of helping drive interest, particularly among Ohlone families in our scouting pack. And so my philosophy in trying to get this back off the ground was really just let's lean into the fun. Let's do so much fun stuff that these kids are really going to be, gushing about it to their friends, and everybody's going to want to join. And I'm not sure that I could put my finger on exactly what it was that we did that was so great, but apparently it worked because this is almost everybody that we've gotten has been a friend of someone in the pack or a classmate of someone in the pack. So we've done a really, really good job of doing it grassroots. And I'll tell you, we've done next to nothing in terms of marketing.
Great. Well, that's a real success story. We greatly appreciate you sharing.
Thank you, Dan.
Also tonight, we have Sabrina, who is the committee chair for PAC 14 of Palo Alto. They were able to add 31 new scouts this past year. Sabrina, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what PAC 14 has done this past year for recruiting?
Hi, sure. We were pleasantly surprised by our success adding new scouts. We didn't do a whole lot. I think like PAC 6, there was just a lot of renewed interest in scouting. There is a lot of word of mouth. I think friends of friends said, "Oh, we heard that you guys do a lot of fun stuff. Can we try it out?" A couple of the things that we did do, our first pack meeting was like an ice cream social, and we just invited people to come, and we were able to, we were very lucky to have somebody organizing a game, and we had ice cream, and it was pretty informal. In terms of other marketing things that we did as a pack, I think we had flyers that went out to kind of a few schools that kind of we traditionally draw from. But besides that, there wasn't a whole lot of specific outreach. There might have been one or two notices through PTA newsletters, and also through Nextdoor and the Palo Alto Moms Facebook group. And that was enough to fill our ranks. But besides, we were pleasantly surprised, and that's not to say that we had some scouts that actually left our pack for other packs in Palo Alto, and a couple of them actually decided to come back at the end. So we lost them for a couple of months, and then they transferred back in. So there was just a lot of movement this year from within the city, and I think it's about finding the right match for your family and for your child, and I think we really emphasize that.
Hi, everybody. This is Ben, also from PAC 14. I might add to what Sabrina just told us in that we had an early camping trip just locally out to Foothills Park that we could say, you know what, you're joining in September, and in October we have a camping trip that's really accessible. It's right here in the Palo Alto Hills. It's early in the season. I think a lot of what draws people to scouting is that love of the outdoors. And before the weather gets really bad, we can get out there and have a powwow with everybody. So I think that helped drive early engagement and retention as well.
Any other packs that have success stories they want to share? One of the things that I would offer too is that the council also has a number of Cub Scout events going on. We have Cub-ons and different things like that. We have our day camp coming up the end of June, as well as also the STEM camp in or end of July. We have openings right now, so that's another reason for doing spring recruiting. Get the families interested in scouting, and it's another way to get them engaged. And I think anytime you can get families camping, you can get them to go to things like day camp or STEM camp, you really get them engaged and involved, and they're going to stay with scouting for quite a while. Okay.
So one thing that hasn't been mentioned yet that I think is important is that when you have events for your new families, invite troops and ask them, the local troops, ask them if they've got some scouts that can help out with their activities. So the scouts, the older scouts, can entertain the younger kids, and then the adults are able to talk to the new adults. So use those resources too.
Yep, that's a great idea. I know my my son's Cub Scout pack did that. We had a spring camp out, and we had a couple. Actually, they were scouts that had been part of the pack earlier, and they were, now at the troop level. But they came back and did some really great skits, and all the Cub Scouts were talking about that for months to come. So it's a great way to get, the older scouts involved. Another way to get the older scouts involved is with your recruiting night. So, if you have a recruiting night, make certain that you don't make it too long. Try to keep it to maybe 30 or 40 minutes. But it's a good idea to go ahead and split up the parents from the youth and have the youth work with a couple of your pack leaders, as well as maybe some BSA scouts, and have some fun activities that they can do. And then your pack leadership can then meet with the adults to tell them a little bit about the scouting program. So that's one way of doing it. Any other ideas, suggestions that people have?
I love the idea of having the troops there, because also the kids who are coming from the troops, there's such a good representation of what BSA is hoping to like instill in the kids with respect to character, and kind of helps give the parents an idea of like, this is what we're working towards building your child up to.
Absolutely.
It gives the little ones something to look up to too.
Yeah, no, that's great. If you can have those older scouts there, they leave such a great impression upon the parents and the prospective Cub Scouts. Okay. So in closing, the way to get started is to quit talking and let's begin doing. That's a quote from Walt Disney. So again, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We greatly appreciate it. Are there any other questions before we say goodnight?
No, this was very informational. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I will go ahead.
I actually had a question. Yeah. So one of the things that I was asking our school was, could we advertise in the school? And what I learned is the school districts aren't allowed to or wouldn't endorse. And I'm curious if there is some precedent for this, or is there something that BSA has considered at a corporate level or larger scale to sort of work around this or partner with schools? Because I think that's a great place. There is no competition between schools and what we do, and everyone benefits. So I'm curious to hear if you have any insights or thoughts on that.
Yes, some of the schools may use Peach Jar, and that's one way of doing that. You have to pay for it. But on there, usually they'll ask that you include a disclaimer at the bottom of your one-page flyer that says basically the school district's not endorsing it. I've worked with PACs in my old district doing that, and we haven't found the best success in using Peach Jar. Where we found better success is if you can make friends with the PTA and they have a PTA newsletter. That can be really great. Sometimes you can make friends with the office manager of the school or the principal. I've had some PACs that have been able to do that. And it's like, if you can get them on your side, sometimes they'll allow you to kind of slip like a take-home flyer in the box of like the kindergarten class or the first graders. That's another way of doing it as well. And then, I don't know, Shannon, do you, or anybody else, do you have any thoughts?
Those are great ideas. Those are what I've used before.
What we've had great success with is the back to school nights. So if you call the front office of your target schools and say, hey, when's your back to school night and can I have a table? Now, Ohlone, we've done back to school night every year for years now. Palo Verde, the other school that we try to do it with last year, told us, maybe not, because they're, in an interesting situation at Cubberley, and they're like, we don't want to, like we don't have the space, just leave us alone this year. So we didn't get to hit that one, but we traditionally had also done Palo Verde. So back to school night, super useful.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I was going to mention, I have quite a bit. I was a Cub Master in the Redwood District for many years, and check with your school to make sure what their regulations are. There's many of them have rules that the flyers got to be multilingual. They've got to review the content before they put it in their mailbox for their teachers and make it available to the parents and so on. So just check to see what the local school rules are, because it may be arbitrarily thrown out because it doesn't satisfy a multilingual rule or something like that that may be unique just to that school.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions? If not, thank you very much for attending tonight's webinar. We greatly appreciate it. I will send out an email to all the PAC Key 3 leaders in a couple days with links to the PowerPoint slide deck, along with also a recording of this video so that everybody can take a look at it. And again, feel free to reach out to Shannon, Eric, myself, or any of the unit commissioners. We're here to help you, and we're always glad to help you in any way that we can. So thank you again for joining us tonight, and have a good evening.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you all. Thanks. Bye-bye.